So he wrote, the most satisfactory offering for the spirits is a male child of high intelligence and perfect innocence, not older than 6 years old. And that's straight out of his book. So, and he bragged that he did that. There are different numbers that are used, but fact is that he was involved in human sacrifice. And I mean, how can this guy be your hero? I don't understand that. And he died penniless, a heroin addict. So obviously he was very rewarded for all these rituals that he did. Yeah, anyway. So I talked about Leary, Kinsey, Hubbard, Parsons. I want to talk about the Beatles, which I already talked about, which they were also involved in these things, as far as I know. And you just have to look at their album covers. Then the Rolling Stones, they were also involved. They also have album covers where they are dressed in their magical robes. Then there's the story of Mick Jagger's girlfriend. She got pregnant when she was like 18, and he pushed her to abort the child, which she did not want to do. And he pushed her and pushed her to do that, or he would leave her. So basically she was dragged to the doctor, and Mick Jagger was doing lines of coke during the examination. And then later she decided she wanted to have the child, and she obviously she was drugged at her home, and when she woke up, the whole apartment was on fire, and she only survived because she crouched into where make a fireplace, because there's an air bubble where you can breathe. And the fireman said it's a miracle that she survived that, and that was obviously Mick Jagger who did that. So that's the mindset of all these celebrities and your idols. Also, the word idol is the third or the second commandment. Thou shalt not worship idols. American Idol. So it's hidden in plain sight, and that often was what stops people from seeing it, because it's hidden in the open for everyone to see. You just have to look at it. So then there's the story with David Bowie, who said the worst time in his life was in his 70s, when he was involved in Kabbalism, and he said, with his own mouth, he said, I was involved in Kabbalism then, and it was just the worst time of my life because of this Crowleyan thing that's in the music industry, that comes out of his mouth, not mine. So then the next I wanted to talk about George H.W. Bush. His speech on the 1,000 Points of Light. What does it mean? I don't think I can remember what he said exactly, but he said something like a new order of the ages, 1,000 points of light, and so on. And that refers to the book The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky. And the 1,000 Points of Light is basically a code word for the new world that will emerge when Lucifer has taken over. And you can read it in the book, and I'm sure the book is online. 1,000 Points of Light is basically a Luciferian society. And he said that basically on national television. Back then, very few people knew what he meant. But history does not forget. And everything that's spoken in dark chambers will be brought to the light and will be screamed from the rooftops. So much to George H.W. Bush. Then the next guy is Robert Anton Wilson. He wrote, many people know Hagbard Celine or Hagbard Celine, which is a protagonist in a book, in 3 books actually, which is the Illuminatus trilogy, which was written by Robert Anton Wilson. And he was also a Crowleyite, as far as I know. I think I heard that he was. And he wrote also a lot of books on the occult. And yeah, these people are just unbelievable. And then there is Kenneth Anger, who he was involved also in the so-called process Church of Final Judgment, and he was also a filmmaker, and Jimmy Page should have written the soundtrack for his film. The title of this film was Lucifer Rising, and he has Lucifer tattooed over his chest. And Kenneth Anger now works for an entity which is called Disney, Disney, and especially the Jonas Brothers. So if you think that Disney is entertainment for children, I urge you to do some research, and you will be astonished what you find. Then the next guy I wanted to talk about regarding Aleister Crowley's army of 12 was Anton LaVey. And he made a form of Satanism which was basically pop Satanism. It was not real. I think the goal of this thing was to make it seem ridiculous and to make it seem, yeah, that's just a bunch of weirdos. There's nothing to that. But a lot of people died around Anton LaVey who crossed him. And basically I think that his agenda was to make Satanism pop. So to make Satanism appealing to young people and viewing all these things from a completely worldly perspective. So they say, we do not believe in Satan. We believe that Satan is just an archetype of the soul and like a figure of free speech and a rebel, and that's what we want to be. We want to be rebels and so on. And there's nothing supernatural going on. That's all hocus pocus, and that's not real. And basically that's what they did, as far as I know. And but it is real. it's absolutely real. And I think Anton LaVey was maybe on par with Crowley concerning the amount of evil that he unleashed onto the world. And Crowley would have been proud of him, sure. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. What it means. This army that Crowley wanted. This army of men, not gentlemen. And he said, give me 10 or 12 of such men and I will conquer the world. And I think, in my opinion, these are the men that he was talking about. Leary, Kinsey, Hubbard, Parsons, the Beatles, the Stones, George Bush, Wilson, Kenneth, Anton LaVey, and so on. And yeah, so but I think that's enough about Crowley. Another thing I wanted to talk about is what happens to you if your eyes are opened and suddenly you cannot not see these things everywhere. I think there's a Bible quote about that the truth is terrifying, or something like that, or it says the truth will set you free, but it will also trouble you. And if you watch television nowadays, you can count the seconds. For example, let's take South Park. You can count the seconds until the first blasphemy comes, and it's usually about 30 seconds. But South Park may be not that good of an example because it's pretty dark humor, so to speak. But you can also see it in The Simpsons. And I don't mean The Simpsons that are now. I mean the Simpsons from the 1990s, like the 5th season, the 4th season, the 6th season, like from 1991 and so. You can see that you always have the stereotypical stupid, annoying, Bible-bashing Christian. In case of The Simpsons, it's Ned Flanders. Anti-science and so on. A do-gooder. And that's not coincidence. That is an agenda to portray Christians as stupid, weak, superstitious, and so on. Just watch The Simpsons, I mean, and it's not just South Park and The Simpsons, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Then South Park also, if you watch South Park a lot, and you know about numerology or gematria, if you look at the numbers of the houses, they always represent an archetype. Like, for example, I think the number of Kyle's house is 7. If you collapse it, like the number is like 1107, 1105 or something. So 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 5 is 7. That's what numerology is. And the properties of the number 7 is associated with Judaism, and Kyle is a Jew. So, and that's with all the numbers. Cartman's number, I think, is 13, which is the number of chaos. And I think Chef's house number is 11, which stands for enlightenment. And only in the Halloween episodes, the numbers are often 666, 999, 23, 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. So, and this numerology speaks directly into your subconscious mind. So, and there was a a guy who had a brother who was in the CIA, and he said that his brother never talked about the CIA. But one day he said one thing to him: never watch television, and never let your children watch television. It's Anton LaVey called television the new satanic family altar. And nowadays, with the flat screens, they look like black mirrors, which are used in black magic for divination and so on. Yeah. Good. That's another 21 minutes, so I leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Till next time.